Hello, welcome back to Hazel Jane Tarot. Today I am going to be taking you through all the Oracle decks that I worked with, either a little or a lot in 2021. And we might have a chat about a few that might be moving on, but for the most part, this is just to review all the decks I used through the year. The lighting is a little bit funny. It's 3:30 on a December day and the natural light is going. So I've turned on a light in the room. I hope it doesn't throw too much shadow. I'm hoping to get for Christmas a light that will help me with my filming in the winter months because I've been very reliant on natural light. So the first deck I'm going to share with you is the Song of My Heart Oracle. And this is by a creator that I was following on Instagram. Oh, Hand Me That Pencil is the name of the account. So I really love I love her decks, and she's a creator from New Zealand. This Song of My Heart Oracle is actually a two-parter, so I ordered both when I got this. And it's a lovely affirmation-based deck, and it's one that I used for a good while for a daily card when I got it first. So you can see she's combined elements of New Zealand landscape that are named on the card with a sort of a female that has been illustrated, and there's quite a diverse mix of people depicted, and it's a really nice deck. I really like it, and I do want to support this creator more in the future. So yeah, go check out, if you haven't already, Hand Me That Pencil on Instagram. She's working on an elders based deck, which is a tarot deck that will be coming out at some point. No hurry on that. I'm just enjoying watching the process. And yeah, go and check her out. So that's the Song of My Heart Oracle, which I love. Then I also used this a little bit this year. This is the Threadbound Oracle, and it's by Cedar McLeod. And it's a deck that I actually do really want to spend more time with. I mean, you're going to hear that a lot, I guess, in these videos. I used this in conjunction with the Morgan Greer Tarot for some Instagram readings and a little bit for myself. And it's just such a well-designed deck. I mean, I love the art. This is the same creator as the Numinous Tarot, but the whole concept of this is kind of around stories and storytelling. There's a novel that goes with this, and I haven't had a chance to buy and read the novel yet. I think the deck works without it, but I think some of the characters from the novel are depicted through these cards. But it's a really great deck, and I've been using it a little bit just in December and finding that the messages are just really clear and straightforward, and yeah, and it shuffles really nice. So this is the Threadbound Oracle by Cedar McLeod, and yeah, it's one I definitely want to spend more time with. What I have been spending a lot of time with is the Goddess Love Oracle by Wendy Andrew. So you'll have seen this in my favourites videos over the last few months if you've been watching. This deck is one that I bought in the Goddess Temple shop in Glastonbury. And it's lovely. I mean, this is not the kind of thing I would have thought that I liked before I got it, but I love it. It's really gentle and lovely. And you have cards that clearly depict a goddess that you recognize, like Bridget, and they're seasonally associated, like, you know, there's Easter, but also there's a lot of kind of just wintry vibes in the deck overall, and a lot of the cards are really similar. Like, even look at the postures of the characters in these cards. You know, they are quite similar, some of the images, but that doesn't really bother me. It's like, look at those. They're really, really similar. Sorry, I need to be aware of where the light's coming from and not put these in the dark. But yeah, it's just really nice deck. I've been using this as sort of a bedtime card pull, and I've been using it for around 4 months. And as I often say when I show this deck, it'll be just going right back on the altar space to be used again when I'm done with this video. So yeah, I really love that deck, and I've been using it loads and loads and loads. Another goddess deck that I thought I was going to use more but didn't is this one. So I bought this secondhand off a Facebook seller sometime in 2020. So this little deck is Susan Shedden Boulet is the artist, and the text is by Michael Babcock. So the art in these cards is just really, really cool. So this card is Valkyrie, and then there's like a write-up about the goddess on the back. There's a real similarity, as you can see, like the way the art style from the artist is, you know, really consistent through the cards. But they have a very magical feel to them. There's Sedna. So they cover a range of different, you know, mythologies and religious systems and, you know, beliefs from all around the world. There's Ishtar. There's Pele. You know, so they're just very, very beautiful cards. So one of the ideas I had this year in 2021 was I was going to pull a card a month, and I was going to really look into and deep dive into the goddess whose card I pulled for that month. And in the first month of January 2021, I pulled the card for Arianrod, who's a Welsh moon goddess. And I did get a book about Arianrod. I read up on her, but I didn't really feel like it resonated that much or added that much more to my month. And there's Hell. And in February, I just decided to work with Bridget and never really deviated from that for the rest of the year. That was the Arianrod card. So I ended up not using this beyond pulling that card right at the start of January. But it's such an unusual little deck, and the art is really nice. So it's just one I'm going to hold on to for now anyway. I have a few goddess themed decks, but yeah. So when I say I worked with it, like I pulled one card from that deck this year. Another deck that I used a little bit, I think maybe for Instagram readings, is the Amenti Oracle. The Amenti Oracle, I kind of fall in and out of love with. I know Kellyanne Maddox uses it and raves about and loves this deck. And I sort of feel like this deck's a little bit too cool for me, if you know what I mean. It's definitely not too cool for Kellyanne. Nothing could be too cool for Kellyanne, who I love and watch avidly, and I'm currently reading her book. But yeah, I really like this deck in some ways. I think the affirmations on this deck really push you into ethical, thoughtful living, I guess. You know, I offer words of good intent. I give offerings that are genuine. I achieve with integrity. I honor virtue. Like it's based on the principles of Mayat, and the book I think is by Jennifer Sodini. And the art is not written anywhere obvious on the book. The artist, let me see. Natalie Miller is the illustrator. This wouldn't normally be my art style. The cardstock's lovely. I remember not all the cards resonate with me, and I think Kellyanne Maddox in her video talked about having taken a few out, which is something I haven't done. I do the best I can, yeah. I think it's not like an affirmation deck, it's more like a kick up the butt deck. And I think sometimes about moving it on, because I only used it very little this year, and they went over the top with the packaging. Like it doesn't need all that. I don't really like the book that comes with this. I felt for me it's a bit overwritten, but other people might find it very poetic and, you know, inspiring, and, you know, in a kind of bibliomancy way to take a line, you know, from the card description to work with. For me, the deck doesn't really resonate, or the book doesn't resonate that much, but I do like the deck and the phrases on the cards, so it's staying for now. The Wisdom of the Oracle. oh, this is one of my favourites. By Colette Baron Reid, the book, and the art is by Gianna Della Gortaglia. I think this is an older version of this deck, because when I've seen it more recently, some of the cards seem to have changed. When I've seen pictures of it on other people's channels, I think they've redrawn some of the cards to make the people depicted more diverse, which is no bad thing at all. But I don't feel the need to get a second copy of it, because I have a very specific connection with this copy. When I visited Delphi in Greece, when I went to the temple ruins of the Oracle at Delphi, I placed this deck on the steps of the temple. And yes, it does work with reversals, which is why, sorry, there's a bunch of reversed cards as we're going through. So I have a very specific connection with this deck. The day I was there at Delphi, I pulled the Higher Power card from this deck. I walked around the temple with it in my hands. This deck has given me amazing readings. It's not cutesy. It is a bit of it's another deck that kicks your butt. It really does. In my experience, this deck has been relentless in revealing things that you maybe aren't ready to face, and just saying, get on with it. So I used it maybe for a little while this year for Instagram readings, but not much for myself. So it's definitely an old favourite, and one that I'll come back to. The Personal Power deck by Deja Druitt, well, that's not her real name, I don't think. Her pen name. It's a lovely little deck. As you can see, it's smaller. Love the art style. I love the different people depicted in the deck. This is an affirmation deck in the kind of perk you up kind of way. I am determined. I am lovable. I am abundant. I am a healer. I am unbreakable. I trust in divine timing. I am ready. It's gorgeous. I love the magenta edges. It's a really nice deck. It's an independent Oracle deck, and yeah, I used it a bit. It's one that I would pull out and pull a card for, like a little motivator, leave it out maybe for a while. And I used it for some Instagram readings, I think, earlier in the year. The Sacred Creators Oracle, this is one that I got this year, I think. I think it was a 2021 purchase. It's one I had wanted for a long time, and then when the mass market edition came out from Hay House, I jumped on it straight away. Listen to that. Such gorgeous cardstock for this to be a mass market deck. It's gorgeous. This deck pairs brilliantly with so many decks because they're so plain. It just is a perfect partner for lots and lots of different decks. The Painted Tarot, I remember being a particularly lovely pairing with this during the year. This is another deck, a little bit like Manifesting Your Greatness, which I discussed in my video on decks I hadn't worked with. That it's really good if you're working on a project. It's got loads of really good motivators, but your project could just be your life, your job, it doesn't have to be a creative project, although it is the Sacred Creators Oracle. This is a great little deck. So I used it quite a bit, and I will be using it again. The Oracle of the Mystical Moments. This has been out for a while, and it's kind of a strange little deck. You've got Miss Sunshine in this image. Maybe not as obvious what the Oracle meaning is as it might be when you have like keywords and so on. But the art is just so fun and mysterious and beautiful. I love this deck. I remember pulling this card a lot when I've worked with it in the past. I think this year I mostly used it for some Instagram readings rather than using it personally. But yes, this is lovely. And it's not going anywhere. A new deck to me this year was this Transcendent Journeys Oracle by Cheryl Yambach Rose. I had never heard of this artist, and I came across this deck in the summer. I think I bought it in July. it's an unusual deck for me in that it includes these sort of star beings, as well as, like, it's just such a mix of people and things like Mary Magdalene, Sarah, which is I think part of this Mary Magdalene story. Is that Mary Magdalene's daughter? Then King Arthur and a fairy and a Celtic, and you know, more sort of star energy, and like it's just Lemuria, and it's just such a mixture. And then there's Bridget. The art is just gorgeous. I haven't used this one anywhere near as much as I used this one, Through the Eyes of the Soul, which I got when I was in Glastonbury. And I'm sure you've heard, if you've been on my channel before, you've heard the story. The backs on that are so gorgeous. So you can see they go really nicely together. But oddly, this deck has no border on the back, but borders on the front. This deck has a border on the back and no borders on the front. And I kind of wish they were more, just in the kind of graphic design with the borders and so on, I wish they were more the same, because then I could maybe just combine them and make a mega deck. This deck doesn't have the star beings in it, the Through the Eyes of the Soul deck, which is maybe why I've used this one more. But the art is just so beautiful, and because there's so many cards in it that feature Glastonbury, and because I bought it when I was in Glastonbury, I have just sort of, this has been in pretty much constant use since I got it in August. And I also got a book called Art Through the Eyes of the Soul, which isn't a companion guidebook to the deck, but it is a guidebook to Cheryl Yambach's Rose's art. And that gave me a much better understanding of her kind of approach to her art and what's kind of going on in some of the images. So I haven't used this one as much, and I mean, but the art in it is just as lovely. This feels maybe a bit more like a Kyle Gray deck to me, in that there's so many different kind of worldviews and belief systems referenced through the deck, whereas Through the Eyes of the Soul, which also has a bit of a mixture of things, feels a wee bit more coherent for me. Or it could just be that I've used it more. But her art is lovely, and I'm really hoping that they bring out the Art Through the Starstream Oracle, which was I think her first deck, in this style, because these are both printed very recently. They're quite new decks, I think. Hold on, let me just check. 2021. Yeah, so this was printed in 2020 and this was printed in 2021, and this is a reissue of an older deck. So I am hopeful that they will reissue her other deck in this format with the bigger cards and no borders. I'm crossing my fingers. So what else? Oracle decks that I've used this year. You've probably seen this before on my channel. This deck is by Moonmana, who have a website, moonmana.ie, and the creator is Karen Ward and the artist is Bernie Sexton. They have a YouTube channel as well. So Mana is a woman in Irish, so Moon Woman. And this deck covers a range of sort of phases of the moon, the different seasonal moons of the year, a number of Irish goddesses, and a number of Irish sacred sites, places that I've actually been to and can get to. They're within, I could journey to any of these places. So that's really nice. I mean, this deck is just really special to me. It was also bought for me by my sister. And I know quite a few people have bought it from having seen it on my channel, and have been enjoying it. So yeah, this is a really special deck for me and will continue to get a lot of use. It's nice to have a Celtic deck that's actually made by Irish creators and, it just tunes into something in a really good way. Another deck that I used a bit this year is the Earth Wisdom Oracle. The art is by Christina Scagliotti and the artist is Barbara Moore. So the art in this is just so beautiful. It's quite a small deck. I edged it in this dark green. It doesn't come like that. So again, you can see it's like tapping into Celtic themes, but it's just so pretty. And I bought the Tarot, Universal Celtic Tarot, because it was the same artist, but the two decks are quite different. But that's a nice Oracle deck. A couple of other Oracle decks I used this year a little bit. The Seasons of the Witch Scion Oracle and the Seasons of the Witch Yule Oracle, which I know you're probably already familiar with, so we'll just give you a quick look. So the two guidebooks and the two back designs, they go really nicely together. One has the green gilding, the other has the red gilding. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with the next one. But they have the same art style as well. This sort of really lovely art style that, you know, the two tie together really beautifully. So the art is by Giada Rose, and the whole deck concept and book and so on is by Lorraine Anderson and Juliette Diaz. My understanding is that Seasons of the Witch Scion Oracle was originally an independent deck, and then it got picked up by Rockpool, Clever Rockpool, and they are planning to bring out all the Sabbats, and I am planning to buy all the Sabbats when as they come out. And I think Baltina is going to be the next one, so that's fun. Another deck that I worked with this year is the Painted Runes, which is a beautiful Oracle deck independently produced by Sophie McKay-Knight, who also did the Painted Tarot. So I used this a good bit with the Painted Tarot and on its own. This was sent to me for review by Sophie McKay-Knight, which was really lovely. And yeah, it's gorgeous. I don't use or read runes, so my sort of introduction to runes was getting this deck, and it has been a really nice one to work with. It's been a few months since I picked it up actually, so that going through this video is nice to remind me to use it. But so that's the lovely Painted Runes. We're getting near the bottom of the pile now. The Ancestral Oracle of the Celts. So there's another Celtic themed deck. It comes in this rather disappointing box. So this is a deck that I used on and off. Like, one of the ways I used this deck actually was before I went to Glastonbury, I pulled some cards asking who are some of the figures that I will encounter on my journey. And so I pulled a few of these, and it was interesting to see what archetypes came up. And then when I came home from the trip, to think about who might match up. So if you're watching this and you're on my trip to Glastonbury, if I met you when I was in Glastonbury, I'm not telling which archetypes came up, but yeah, so they all are different people that you would have potentially found in communities in ancient sort of Celtic cultures, and then you have these sort of major arcana-esque cards in the set as well. It's not a deck that I've worked enough with the system to feel really confident with, but I do like it. Oh, I just found two cards hiding in the bottom of the deck, or in the bottom of the box, like in there. Anyway, oops. Put them back in with the others. I like the purple. I think this deck was previously issued under another name. It's by Watkins Books. It's not a very expensive one. But yes, and Caitlin Matthews did the Celtic Tarot, I think, as well, which will come up in another video. So other decks that I used this year, the Mystical Healing Reading cards. Sometimes I think about moving these on, and then I use them and remember what a good deck it is, especially for anything around healing. So relieve anxiety, embrace meditation. I got that a lot. The only book I did not finish that I started this year was a book on meditation, and I keep pulling that embrace meditation card. Examine your integrity, practice positivity. So the art is like this really sort of, I don't know what the right word is for the art period that it looks like it's from, but Innes Segal wrote the book, and the art is by Jake Baddeley. And yeah, it's the only set. There's a lot of reading cards by Rockpool that are in a similar sort of box. It's the only one of those that I have, but the mystical healing cards, they're pretty good. And then the Angel Oracle, this by Ambica Waters, I got in a trade. So you can see it's quite an old box. It comes with this big hardback guidebook. And then here are the cards. So when I got this, I did use it a bit. I'm still not sure about it, to be honest. It may be one that I might move on again. So we have these different guardian angels. So guardian angel of creativity. Then you have the angel prince of the north, the guardian angel of maturity. So it's all very traditional angels, kind of traditional churchy art. The art is by, let me see if I can find the artist's name. Warren Maddell is the artist. And yeah, it's a nice deck. But yeah, it hasn't really resonated. I've thought about trimming the white borders. I thought about edging it in gold, but I haven't. And I might just see if anybody wants to trade for it again, to be honest, because it's not really drawn me in that much. And last but very much not least is the Mother's Wisdom deck, which, as you know, if you've watched this channel before, I pull one card from at the beginning of each month to give me some guidance for my mothering journey. The cards contain pictures of different types of mother archetypes, and then the book has like a lovely big full color picture, but about 2 pages of really interesting and powerful reflections on that archetype and how it might feed into your life. So this is a lovely deck, and one of my all-time faves. So this is definitely going to be getting loads more use next year as well. So thank you for watching. I think we've just gone a bit darker. It's getting darker outside and my battery is starting to run out. So thank you for watching. And if you have or use any of these decks, if you've used any of them this year, if you like any of these decks, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Bye.